Hello and welcome. I want to welcome everybody who is here today and those of you who are watching. This is the dialogue series, and this is our discussion on the impact of colorism on self-esteem. And we are talking again with some global friends. Welcome to everyone. My name is Fatia with the World Africultural Community Project. We are a nonprofit based in the southern part of the United States. More specifically in the Nashville, Tennessee area. And our purpose as an organization is to participate in the global mission to change negative narratives about Africa, Africans, and Blackness in general. And how we do this is through collaborations and projects and programs in education, the arts, cultural exchange, social interaction activities such as discussions like this, and creative placemaking, such as community redevelopment, which is something that we are working on in the North Nashville area for the sake of helping to preserve the cultural footprint and historical, doing historical preservation in Black communities. So I am so happy to see all of you. Some of you I know, some of you I've been chatting with and have met through social media. And so it's really good to see you in person, sort of, live on screen. And I am looking forward to us continuing this conversation with you all. When we say this is a global, we're speaking with global friends, we are truly speaking with global friends. So I'm really excited to welcome you all in. And let's start actually with introductions, if you don't mind. Just just share your first name. What is your cultural or ethnic background? Where were you born, and where do you live now? I'm going to pick the first person, and then each person just pick someone else in the group. Okay. So I will start with. I'll start with myself first, and then I'll pick someone else. So, Fatia. I am my cultural background is Southern U.S. So my parents, I guess, about at least 3 generations were born in Southern U.S. I am from Brooklyn, New York, and again, I am currently living in the Nashville, Tennessee area. I will now choose Florencia.
All right, so I'm Laurentia from Ghana, and my cultural background is video region, so I'm from the central region of Ghana, and I'm a Fanti. I don't know if you would understand that, but that's my cultural background. Thank you.
And who would you like to choose to introduce themselves next?
All right, so I think Angela, please do those.
I'm Angela Jackson. I'm from Paducah, Kentucky, so more towards the west. So I lived here in Nashville, Tennessee about 11 years now. So, and that is it.
Oh, who would you like to choose next?
I'm sorry. Let me see here. What about Miss Jacqueline?
Felt that coming. I really did. My name is Jacqueline Davis. I was born in Texas. It's the southern part of the United States as well. I have done some work with the ancestry to know that, my father's side comes from Haitian, a Haitian background, and my mother's side is from Western Africa, primarily Sierra Leone. But my family, we were born, my mother was born here and I was born here. So we're still doing work to find out and get more connected, to the diaspora. And let's see, I will choose Michael. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Almost. It's actually just Michael. But
Michael.
This is the Dutch spelling of Michael. So it's quite easy.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Michael. live in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, in Europe. Also born and raised in Amsterdam. My cultural background is Surinamese. My family is from Suriname. And long story short is Suriname was one of the colonies of the Netherlands where they practiced, their slavery. So that's how the connection was established between the two countries. And that's in short my background. And then I'll pass the mic to Latoya from one throw to another throw. So I think that's a good bridge.
Okay, well, thank you. So my name is Latoya Tisdale. My family background is from the southern part of the United States, in Tennessee. I lived in Tennessee for the majority of my life, and then about 8 years ago, I relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where I currently reside. And we're still piecing together the background of my family. We're still doing the DNA. We're still doing the testing and all of that to try to find out more of where we originated from. But we have been in Tennessee and the South for many generations. So we traced our history back to 1854, and due to slavery, that's where it stopped. So we're still trying to see what's beyond that. And so, but that's a little bit about me. And I am going to now pass the mic to Elekwa. How do you pronounce your name on the iPhone?
Yeah, you got your name right. Okay, my name is Elekwa Ifeanyi Emmanuel. I'm from Nigeria. I'm Igbo. You know, like in Nigeria, I have like the three ethnic groups in Nigeria. That's Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba. So I'm Igbo, and I live here in Nigeria. I live in Nigeria State. I'm still in Nigeria, so that's all I can say about myself. You know. So I'll go ahead to pick. I think Julia Thomas. Okay, Thomas.
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia, and I am from the Gambia. And my ethnic group is Aku. My dad is an Aku, and then my mom is Karninka. They're both ethnic minority groups. Nice to meet you all. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so let's dig into this conversation. Colorism, color bias. I'm sure it can be described in different ways. It affects people in different ways. It is something that, I guess, from different perspectives, whether or not you're on the more favored side of it or you're on the less favored side of it, our experiences are a little different. So through our organization, part of what we seek to do is to help to connect and unite our various communities that are spread out across the world. There's a lot of fractured relationships and fractured understandings between us. Part of our work is to help to seal that up, help to heal. So having conversations like this, getting to know one another, as far as having this type of one-on-one or these small group connections and activities that we do so we can learn about one another. This is part of what we seek to do. And touching upon more serious conversations and topics like this, I think is important in that healing process. So I'm going to ask everyone who has a personal experience to share something that is at the forefront of your mind that you could think of where colorism impacted you. So whoever would like to start with that. Jacqueline, what if I start with you? Because you mentioned something last time, but you weren't able to talk about it at that time. You texted it, actually, and you mentioned about being teased because of your beautiful brown hue. At that time, when you were growing up, because of the short-sightedness of a lot of people or children. Of course, it comes from their grown-ups or how they were treated, or things they heard, or ways they were taught to see color and see our various shades. You were instead teased for your brown hue. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. A lot of us mentioned that we primarily live, or our families started in the South in America. And, that's Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, down at the bottom. And I feel like that experience is because I did grow up in Texas. I live in Nashville now, but I grew up in a place where it was multicultural, but the school that I went to was primarily white or Hispanic. And yes, we are the global majority, right? But we are still considered the minority to the rest of the world. But it was challenging because every child wants to fit in, right? And I was different. I was tall. I'm a Amazon, okay? Compared to, I was always the tallest one in the class, just stuck out, just always, right? And so I was already something to look at, right? And then I'm different from most people and everybody else. And so, and they don't teach, in my perspective, they don't teach people, or the parents of the children don't teach people to embrace difference. They teach them to fear it or make them ostracized or different. And it was challenging. As a young adult and as an adult, I've had to really, really work hard to change the narrative in my own mind about what beauty is. Because when I was growing up, they teased me. My name is Jacqueline, but my nickname was Jackie coming up. So they would call me Blackie Jackie. I was like, oh, what I'm saying? It just irked my soul. I was like, why does my name have to rhyme? Why? So, and it taught me like to not value or not like me, my skin or anything like that. So it did definitely do a number on my self-esteem, what I thought I was worth, what I valued. It definitely made me feel as though I wasn't as valuable or pretty or special as someone with long hair or someone with a lighter perception. In Texas, Hispanic culture is very prominent and dominant, so it wasn't always just about whiteness. It was also about being exotic or Hispanic, even, because they were looked at as beautiful and, as well. So it was a mix, but it definitely, I had to adjust, but it was challenging. It was, if I didn't have the support of my family and the support of others that loved me, it could have done even more damage. But it's been work to reverse that.
I understand that. I know, like you're mentioning, as far as the I guess the Hispanic persons being seen more as exotic, and that was something that was coveted. And it was like that growing up in New York City and Brooklyn. My community was, initially it was Jewish and Black, and then it was Puerto Rican and Black. And so for us, like me being in the middle of the brown spectrum, I thought I was really dark because the way I was overlooked, the way I was, just ignored. But if you were this shade or darker, you were less favored. But if you were lighter and don't have curly hair or silky hair or wavy hair, then you were like, this dream come true type of thing, and everybody treated you like that. And then when the bars came out, they kind of really messed everything up for everybody. So then the light skin thing really came in, and so I feel you on that. And I remember one thing that came to my mind was how we would refer to people or identify people by skin color. So there was a friend I had there, she was really dark brown complexioned, and Black always came in front of her name when other people would talk about her. So it was like Black so-and-so. And we would do that to each other. Anybody else have any experiences like that?
Just one thing that I might add to what Jacqueline shared. I think I can, generally speaking, I can indeed relate to the dynamics that you described, but it might also be interesting to add an angle that I also look at, like from the line of work that I'm in, like I work in data science and AI. But the interesting thing in that is I also look at a lot of stuff related to bias and ethics. And one example that I've used in various talks is like, if you, for instance, look on the internet and you search for the Black family, and then you see the pictures that you get, the first pictures that you get are always a dark-skinned Black man with a light-skinned or ambiguous-looking Black woman. And that's very interesting because that also relates to the fact that, yeah, it's, you see the colorism there, but you also see the difference between how Black men are treated and how Black women are treated there. And it's, this is one picture that you see a lot. Actually, you see 3 generations there. And then you see like the grandfather, dark-skinned Black man. His wife is like light-skinned black woman, but also like she could also have been Latin. But then you look at the generation after that, you then see like the son that's supposed to, he's also dark-skinned. And then his wife, again, very light-skinned, very curly hair. You see the generation after that in the same picture. They're supposedly brother and sister, but then you see like the son in that picture is very dark-skinned, whereas the daughter is light-skinned. And that's how you also see like how this line of thinking is perpetuated. And then also, yeah, you didn't see that time and time again in the media, because these pictures then also used, picked up by other people that want to write, or when they want to talk about the Black family, then they use these kinds of pictures. But that actually reinforces those stereotypes over and over again. And so I think that's something that also came to mind for me, that because it's like you have your own personal experiences, but here you see like something that is not just about what your personal experience, but this is a way that this is amplified and then kept in place. Because like, we can work on learning a lot of things, but like if you search for that, that's the first thing that you see. All those images of dark skinned with light skinned, and that's, since, yeah, a clear signal indeed, not just colorism, but also like how you look at men, how you look at women, Black men, women, that's also a big difference there. So yeah, I think that is also an interesting thing to look at, because technology is everywhere, and this is one of the problems that I see with technology also.
Morency, I want to ask you, what is it like in Ghana?
So in Ghana, it's like attention is given to the lighter skinned people compared to, you see, we have different ethnicities. And when you get to the Western parts, they are very dark compared to the other regions. So it's like the lighter you are, the more beautiful you are. So light skin is considered as a beauty factor. You understand? So everyone is trying to get lighter so that it would receive attention. You understand? So basically that's how it is. The lighter you are, the more beautiful you are. So it's a standard of beauty down here.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of global within all the different cultures. Angela, so you grew up in Kentucky, and we know Kentucky kind of, we consider Kentucky having a different cultural and racial dynamic from other parts in the South. You're kind of like mid-South-ish. So what was it like where you grew up?
So in my younger years, we lived in town, and me being dark skin, I was teased a lot for my skin color and stuff, and it did a lot to my self-esteem. But I must say, about 11 or so, we moved out to the county, and it was pretty much an all-white school, but I received more issues from the all-Black school than I did from the all-white school, you know. So, but having done some of my ancestry DNA also, I do realize some of my heritage is from Nigeria and Ghana. So I understand where I get my beautiful skin from. But growing up though, it's difficult, when people are calling you names and stuff like that, Blackie and stuff like that. You're ugly,
I have to get her name right. Laurencia said that the lighter you are, they're getting lighter because they're looking for attention or being noticed, and then it equals like beauty, right? And so I'm interested in hearing what I knew you were going to call on a male next, but when it comes to like beauty, right? Men, when it comes to that word beauty, men and beauty kind of, they might not resonate with the word beauty, right? So I don't, is it being attractive or being seen as quote unquote beauty equals value? Because that's where self-esteem is rooted, in my perception, is your value system. So if you're more beautiful, you are worth more and you're valued, quote unquote, more. And that equals privilege to a certain extent, right? Because Laurentia said that, you're treated better, basically, if you are, quote unquote, beautiful. But I'm interested in what the males have to say when it comes to how they were viewed as attractive or the word beauty, or how does that relate when it comes to being a male and understanding the lighter or the darker on the spectrum, what it means to y'all. It doesn't matter who answers, whether it's I haven't heard from, I don't want to say it inappropriately. Michael, it's how do I say your name, friend?
What, Michael or it
was
Hey, Michael, I thought, you know me?
Yes, I said I've heard from you. The other one, I don't want to say his name wrong.
Elekwa?
Yes.
Say it right. Okay, say your name again so we can make sure we get it right.
Okay, my name is Elekwa Ifan.
Elekwa?
My English name is Emmanuel, yeah, but I prefer to call me Elekwa.
Elekwa, okay, perfect. All right.
We definitely want to hear from you because you're in Nigeria and we hear about the bleaching going on and all of that. So what are you observing? What's going on? And what are other guys talking about? How do other guys respond to women and their different skin tones?
Okay, I'm going to start by, let's say, firstly, here in Nigeria is so rampant, like people trying to change their skin color. Most times you see maybe like mostly both men and ladies trying to maybe go out to go buy some maybe cream to change their color. I really don't know the reason for that. I'm just going to comment on maybe, let's say, what the lady from Ghana said, I think Lawrence, right? She made mention of maybe like most of the times, maybe guys actually see, or let me say maybe people here in Africa or in Nigeria see ladies that maybe that's fair in complexion as beautiful. And that's just the truth. That's the way it is, I have a couple of friends, or maybe let's say even my siblings, most times, they will just want to, oh, like I don't like my skin color, I just want to. And it's crazy like how much they spend on this, trying to get maybe like cream to change your skin color. So in Nigeria is so rampant that people actually do that a lot. A lot of people, they want to maybe change their skin color because they feel that maybe you being black, you're not really that, should I say, beautiful enough, maybe if you're art, people will not really admire you that much. Unlike maybe you see someone that is fair. Let's just assume maybe that if a lady is actually walking by on the road or maybe on the roadside, you will just see people keep on calling the lady, let's just say white, hello white, But if it's a black, maybe it's a lady that here in Nigeria is really black, most of the times they don't really give her that attention. But once you're white, you see a lot of people that want to give you attention, to talk to you. So I feel like maybe that's why people actually try to bleach or change their skin color. And I'm not going to lie, for me, I used to have this mindset that was, let's say, way back. I used to have this mindset that it's just mostly maybe people that are fair that is beautiful. That was just, I used to have this mindset then, but thank God for change, brought my sisters and the rest. From there, I got to know that it's really not about maybe being fair or maybe being dark. It's just all about maybe the quality of the person, maybe the person possessed. So skin color and in Nigeria really matters most of the times, especially for, let's say, for ladies. For ladies, most times in Nigeria here, it's kind of a really big problem. People always want to change their color, always want to just be fair. And you see how much they spend on maybe trying to get a cream, or maybe there's this particular one they always buy, what's it called, like an organic cream or what? It's an organic cream. It's mostly for just maybe for bleaching, you know, you just change your skin. And that's just it. I don't know why.
That's scary, and it's sad, you know, and people are damaging themselves with these products, physically as well as mentally. So you keep trying to change who you are on the outside, but what is that really doing to you inside? How does that really change your mentality? Does it work? Is it effective? It becomes an obsession almost, because then these individuals become more and more obsessed with trying to meet this so-called standard of beauty that others have imposed on us. Laurencia shared a comment saying, you know, she believes that we have been indoctrinated to believe white is attractive and always the best. And this is true. Julia, I'm going to ask you next because you're in the Gambia. The product is called Fair and Lovely. You all know about Fair and Lovely over in Africa. Is that something that's over in Europe as well? Fair and Lovely. Have you heard that, Michael? Wow. Do we know that here? Do we know about Fair and Lovely? We had something called Dark and Lovely. Wait, that's here, right? No, what was the other one? Ambi. Remember Ambi? Ambi from the 70s, 80s. I remember I wanted some Ambi because I was like, I wanted to lighten myself up. I want to be lighter so people would pay attention to me. Thank God I never did it though. Julia, in the Gambia, what is happening over there and how do people respond to our different variations of brownness and skin tone? Is there favoritism toward the lighter there as well?
Sort of. The thing is, when it comes to lighter skin, people have this assumption that people with lighter skin are wealthier, more intelligent, come from better backgrounds and stuff like that. But then at the same time, I've also noticed that in my culture, we do have an appreciation for those with darker skin. And then we also, we normally preach the slogan like Black is beautiful. And I've noticed that dark-skinned women get approached by both men and women to encourage them to maintain their complexion. They're like, don't spoil your complexion. Don't use these bleaching creams and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's mixed. It's a mix approach. But then overall, I would say that when it comes to darker skin, we have a deep appreciation for it. But then also there's a bit of color. There's a lot of colorism in it at the same time, because lighter skinned people get more attention, and so do white people also.
Wow. Latoya, you come from a different part of the South. So you're from Tennessee, and you say where you're from is more rural.
Yes, it's more rural, but a lot of I think what Angela said the most, what she said was a lot of the colorism that I saw her was in the Black community. And so it wasn't something that someone treated me any differently, even just down to just me having an afro. But it was people from my own community that instilled at a young age saying that, well, your chances of getting married is going to be slim because you are dark, or your chances of, you have to straighten your hair in order for you to be successful in corporate America, to be accepted. And even now it's like, okay, well, if you apply for this job and you're going up the corporate ladder, you have to change something about your hair, or you're going to have to change something. You got to be mindful of your complexion. Being that you're dark, you have to do things a little bit extra in order for you to be accepted. And so I do remember one of my childhood friends, actually, I think it's a family member, they used Ambi, but they were young. They were kids. And what it did take the pigmentation out of their skin, but it left all of the dark marks from blemishes. So it made where when you have a darker complexion, if you have blemishes or on your face is not as noticeable, or if you are light. So the lighter his skin got, the more noticeable the blemishes were, to where it was like I hate to say like a chocolate chip cookie, to where like all of the blemishes stood out, but it only did the face, almost like it was. I saw it. I was like, I'm not about that life. I'm not going to do that to myself, because it took a long time. We're talking years for him to get his pigmentation back. And in my experience, especially as a woman, the expectation was set that your chances of getting married, your chances of finding your mate, all of these things would be a little bit harder than someone who is more fair. And so that was instilled all the way through college. And I think you and I had the conversation that in some of the historically Black colleges, as well as in some of the social organizations that people are members of, that back in the day, it used to be something called a paper bag test, where you will put the paper bag up against the skin. And if you were lighter than or the same color as that paper bag, then you could attend that college and you could join that organization, and others could not. And even though that was the foundation decades ago, people still hold on to that, because I've heard people say things like, well, she shouldn't be in this sorority because she's too dark. And that's today in 2022. Or someone say, well, they shouldn't be, they are too dark to be in this organization. They're too dark to be with these people. Or if you are dark, there are certain types of expectations that are set. And at the absolute end of the day, regardless of if you are light or dark, people of color are always seen as a threat. And we're always told that we are unapproachable, or that we look hostile or angry. And especially if you're dark, you get that more. But in any instance, even when people mention traveling abroad, they say, well, you must look approachable, or you must look nicer, or you have to lighten your tone so that people won't feel threatened. And it's very interesting that we've had these decades, and then we're talking about across different countries and continents on colorism, with at the absolute end of the day, that people in other cultures still see us as a threat, whether you're dark or light. I don't know if I answered your question.
I don't even know anymore either, but that was on point though. Still. You're so right about that. Gosh, this conversation, this topic is so expansive, because it can go in so many different directions, and there's different facets of it that need to be kind of brought to light more. So thank you for all of that. Let's see, I want to see if we can hear from Ajibole. Did I say your name right? This is my adopted nephew. Did I say your name right? I should know, right?
Hello.
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 Your audio is not good. I'm happy to see you though.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really wanted to hear from you, because as an artist, you touch upon colorism, and you post this every now and then. You have a piece that you created that reflects, I guess, how do I put it? You have a darker complexioned young lady, and then you have, I don't know, she's Caucasian or she's just very, very fair, but you have two very distinct complexions of women in this particular piece that I'm talking about. And you speak about that as far as, I guess, an issue or perception that people have there in Nigeria. So I wanted to know if you can talk more about what your observations have been regarding color bias and things like that.
We Africans, we need to start accepting who we really are. Can you hear me?
In and out. We can hear bits and pieces. I did hear that part of we Africans need to accept who we are. That's powerful.
That is why most black skin in our country resort into bleaching their skin just for them to get favored especially by people that are light skinned than them. When it comes to movie industry, music industry, to get promotion, people tend to like light skinned than black skinned, not knowing that our skin is unique. We are being created in such a way, we are created in a beautiful way. People forgetting, they've forgotten the uniqueness of their skin color. So I think it is time for Africans to start accepting true identity.
Thank you very much. I'm sure got some of that, enough to understand, first of all, your passion for what you're speaking about and about this topic, and wanting to see more equality when it comes to how we relate to each other and how we're treated by those outside of our culture. So thank you for sharing what you did. I want to welcome Sydney and wanted to see how Jackie, let you make your comment first, and then Sydney, I'm going to come to you next.
We can let Sydney introduce himself first. It was just going to be a question for everybody. So Sydney can go.
Okay. Hello, Sydney. How are you?
Right. My name is Sydney Kasanda. I'm joining you from Zambia. I'm a Zambian. I live in Zambia. I've worked in Zambia. I've experienced quite a bit of colorism in the few countries that I've been to. I lived in South Africa for 4 years. And so my experience of colorism is not primarily experienced in my country, but I've experienced it elsewhere. So in trying to understand about the colorism, I guess, from this topic, I may have to tune in a little longer and understand how it affects other people, and maybe I could relate to that.
I'm glad to hear that you don't see it much in Zambia. Jacqueline, you had a question. I had a question also. So what is your question? No, you go first.
You mentioned that when it comes to specific areas and specific types of ways of living or promotion, like in the film industry and the music industry and things like that, that the lighter you are, the more exposure or attention you get. And the more I hear our friends globally speaking about how you're perceived, I keep on hearing that in the back of my mind. This is all tied to, I put a comment down in the chat about these things being tied to resources. And the world has done the 5-10%, whoever the elitists, of the world that run the world, basically. It's about money. It's about, and they have made it, in my perception, they've classified the whole world into first world, second world, third world. They've put us in places, and every individual and every human, every country wants to evolve and be better, right? And so it's like colorism is like a baby birthed out of the fact that the people that run the country don't look like us. So, or run the world don't look like us. So to be able to have more power and quote unquote run the world, we need to look like that, right? And so it's not like, oh, there are some people out here that do worship whiteness. This exists, but I'm asking the people that we're talking to today, do you all see it being connected to money, to resources, to being able to do better? Because individuals that are lighter have access to making money, and everybody wants to make money, so do you see it like that as well? Because we're all just trying to do better out here.
Now, Michael, you have something to share.
No, I just want to respond to Jacqueline. I think that's totally true, that it's very much related to power. I also think about the art of Isabel Wilkerson. She also talks about the racial caste system, because she then also talks about like it's not just that you are like labeled into certain colors. It's very much based on a power dynamic, and within that power dynamic, indeed, when you are assigned to the more favorable class, that also means that you have more power. So that would be then the white class versus the black class. But also within the black class, you then also get those same power dynamics. Like the closer you are to white, the more white adjacent you are, the more power you have, the more esteem you have. So that's something that's then replicated, and I think that is an important uh, thing that also to consider. Like, okay, why do certain black people even behave in a certain way? That's to, yeah, they might think like, okay, if I want to be successful within this society, then I need to be like that. I need to be close to white. But the thing is only that we are then adhering to a system that is inherently toxic, because the way the world is set up is based on the old European colonial system. And that by its very nature is toxic. That is very nature exploitative, trying to divide and conquer, specifically divide and conquer the non-white worlds so that the white world can benefit from it. So I think that the power aspect is very important, because um, if we really want to free ourselves, we also need to ask ourselves the question: can we really free ourselves within that toxic system? Because we're just, yeah, how free can you be within toxicity? The more you immerse yourself in toxicity, the more it also becomes a part of you. And I think that's what you see with colorism, because you can say like colorism is a result of racism, but yeah, the more our people, immersed within that racist, toxic system, the more the toxicity became a part of us. So now, even when you take our societies separate from the white society, yeah, we are dealing with the colorism, and that's what I'm hearing various people also when they talk say like, okay, those experiences with colorism, they'll not, yeah, you don't really get that necessarily with white people. That's something you get from what you would consider your own people, your own black and brown people. They see those colorist expressions coming forth. And I think it's all very much related to indeed the power structure and it all goes back very much in history. I can give an example from my own personal perspective that might be interesting for you all. Like, because in Suriname, where my family is from, was a former colony, slavery was practiced there. So our African ancestors were enslaved there, but also developed different groups there. So you have like the people from the city, the black people there, they were basically enslaved until the end of slavery. But we also have so-called maroon communities. They escaped earlier. They set up their own societies within the jungle, basically, of Suriname. But they also were able to maintain more of their Africanness. So they are darker, generally speaking. They're also like, but also the other features, because texturism is also an issue. So the way you look at the hair, but also like the characteristic, they are more African. The cultural expression is more African. But then what you see happening in that society is that the black people from the city, they look down upon those maroons. But the thing is, it doesn't make sense, because like the reason they look down upon them is like, okay, because they're more African, so they try to distance themselves again to get close to the power, indeed, also. But it doesn't also make sense, because like they resisted slavery, and so actually you should basically look up at them, because like they resisted those people. But that's the name that you get, the people look down upon them. But it's also really a supreme expression of self-hatred, because like at the end of the day, yeah, we come from Africa, and when you then, for instance, if they look down upon the Maroons, you're basically you're not just hating them, you're really hating yourself, because you are African yourself. Like when you look around you, like also when the example again where you see like dark-skinned black men with light-skinned black women, that is not just something that is seen in pictures. That's also more culturally speaking that, yeah, a mentality. You see it in many different places also. But the thing is like, you're not just disrespecting the black women by doing that if a man does that, but what we, or the men that do that, are really doing is really disrespecting themselves. Because like, if your mother is black, if your sisters are black, if your aunties are black, your children will also be black. If you then look at women that way, that, yeah, it's really, you're disrespecting your whole essence, because you come from that blackness. But that's what people then really don't see. And I think as long as people don't see like how they are hurting themselves actually with that, then will also maybe difficult for them to break that cycle. But yeah, it's very much rooted in slavery, in colonialism, indeed, in those power structures. And yeah, I just gave the example from Suriname where you see like the distinction, how that's made between the different groups. And the more African you are in skin color or in hair texture or in facial features, also in cultural expression, that is then looked down upon. But the reality is like, we are so brainwashed to also keep focusing on that, keep adhering to that, that we believe that we need to be more white to be more powerful. But at the same time, when I look at myself, like I show up in a certain way, for instance, the way that Fatia knows me is also like, I don't just speak in English, I also speak, for instance, on LinkedIn in Patois, but that is also for a specific reason, because there's great power in our own languages, because the way that we speak, when I look at African American English, I often talk about language a lot, but that's all related to the whole Africanist, because like you're taught to look down upon African American English, but actually when you analyze it, when you look at the structure, you'll see like, well, actually, there are a lot of commonalities with Creole languages, such as Patois that's spoken in Jamaica, but also the Surinamese language, but also languages spoken in West Africa. And when you realize that, and when you really see that, then you see like, well, actually, the way that I speak is it's not something to look down upon, which is African American English. Actually, it is a way that your ancestors resisted, they were able to maintain a part of the Africanness. But yeah, that's how we are brainwashed, to look down upon anything that ties us basically to Africa. So the way that you talk, the way that you move, the way that you dance, but then also tone police, then the way that your skin color looks like, the way that your hair is textured. You're taught to look down upon all those things. But the thing is, like, those are the things that actually make you strong, because the more you show up as yourself, the stronger you actually are, and the more you are also able to connect. Because the more I embrace like who I am, the more I'm able to connect. Also, the more relations I see between people in Jamaica, people in Suriname, people in America. So yeah, that was maybe like a bit of going in different directions, but I think it's important to see that the colorism discussion that is very much something that's aimed at rejecting everything that is African. And the thing is like, as long as we keep that mentality, that actually makes us weak. And that's the fear also for people that are in power, because they realize like, if we really love who we are, and also if we really know our true history, and also see like how connected we actually are, that will actually put us in a stronger position. So yeah, that is what I wanted to add to this part.
Thank you, thank you. And there is an intentionality behind this structure of colorism, color bias, that is meant, in my opinion, to make a majority feel like a minority, by just separating us and having us or placing us into categories, into levels, and then having us do that to ourselves and each other as well. How do we combat that? We're gonna work on that too, on that type of dialogue. I do want to go to Laurencia. You had a comment or a question, and then I have another question to ask you all as we approach our 1 hour.
All right, so I believe that I partly agree with Miss Davis. I think that it's got to do with the money and wanting to fit in, because everybody would love to be wanted and be appreciated. So if it takes giving up your skin color so that you would be wanted, or you would feel like you are part of a society, then some people would not mind giving that up. But I also think that it is a matter of how we have been raised and how we have been made to believe in certain things which are very unnecessary, because the value of yourself is how you see yourself, and then nothing more. So I believe it all comes with how we think and how we approach things in our mind. But we can work on that, but very gradually. Yeah, that's what I think.
Thank you for sharing that. I want to ask a question, I have a couple of questions, but I know time is getting short. I wanted to ask about how we are reflected in the media, because I know that's been mentioned, as far as how it is in Nigeria. I'm curious about Europe. I'm curious about Zambia. I'm curious about the Gambia. How are our people reflected in the media? Do you see more of the lighter complexion? Do you see a good mixture? Do you see that darker complexion people are embraced and represented well? Or are they shunned? What do you see, for instance, especially in Netherlands, which is predominantly not us? How are we accepted and reflected there?
Yeah, specifically looking at the media, I can say like before you really did not see us. Now, sometimes you also finish to see like, okay, dark-skinned people represented, but what you see a lot are commercials where they, because yeah, now they feel like diversity and inclusion, that is a hot topic now, so they believe that you need to embrace it. But the way that they often embrace is that they show a couple, and then one person in the couple is then a white person, and the other one's a black person. And you see then that a lot. And then I looked at it and I'm like, okay, that's nice, but there's nothing wrong with just showing a black couple, for instance. But this is then also, again, how subtle certain beliefs are put into the minds of people, because like if that's the image that you see all the time, then it's pretty much saying to black people like, okay, you need to get, if you have a partner, you need to get it from another race, from the white race, etc. That's then the image that you then see. So now sometimes you also then see now that there are also like just black couples presented, but a lot of time you see like those mixed relationships, and it's not that I'm against those relationships, but again, it's like it's all the subliminal. Like if that's the images that you see all the time, then you will get to believe like, okay, that's the way that it's supposed to be, or you should only look at that. And that's again tied to also the example that like if you do a search on how the black family looks like, then you also a lot of times certain types coming up. So that's one thing that I see in media. I think another important thing in the Netherlands is that when it comes to these topics, like I say, like America is something like it's more, the racism is more extreme, I would say, in America than in here. When it comes to like the violent aspect of it, but the other aspects are pretty much the same. The only difference here is that because here in the Netherlands, they pretty much claim like, okay, we are liberal, we are progressive, so racism is the issue here. So that then also means that the discussions about the topic are not on the same level that I have finished when I look at my American context, when I see what's going on there. So even though the violent racism is worse there, the intellectual level of the discussions is higher when I look at America. And that then also translates into like maybe a greater push for more equal or better representation than you would see here, because like here the discussions are on a very tame level, and that very much has to do with like, okay, of course they don't really want to discuss it that much, because like that would also mean that they would need to acknowledge really their own history, their own brutal history, everything that they did. So this is also just a tactic again, also for them to say like, okay, let's not discuss it, let's just pretend like, okay, that it's normal the way society is. Well, actually, it's not normal, and all the world that's here is also not just by accident. So I would say there's a long way to go here. But like I said, like in the previous podcast, like I was also asked, like, how do I view diversity, equity, inclusion in the Netherlands? I'm like, they're on the diversity level at best, but only very superficial diversity. So it's there's a long way to go to really get to equal representation. The media is one example, but you can also look at like the workforce, how we are represented there. They see similar dynamics, like if you would see them, that might be very much in the lower ranks, but like getting to the higher ranks here, that is quite difficult, because they are getting confronted with like the ideas that they have about blackness, and that's very much in their own minds. But it's very difficult then, to also combat that, because if you are only in that situation, and because there are like no really honest discussions here about these topics, so I think it's a difficult work. In that sense, it's quite a difficult situation. But we as Black people, like the types like people that like I am, like we keep working on things to try to push stuff forward, but it's quite challenging, and it's really like like it's very much tied to the history of the country, because like the resistance to talk about these topics, or to address this, it's like strongly correlated to like how bad the history was. And that is my experience here. I think the representation is even when you see representation, like I say, like it's more like it's also that is quite deliberate, quite manipulative, because it steers you in a certain direction. And when I see, like I said, when I see all those interracial relationships, if that's the image that you can see a lot time pushed through the media. Like my sister also noticed that, and we had a discussion about it. Like, yeah, we don't really like it because like the message that it gets is like, okay, if you're a black man, like you need to get a white woman, or if you are like black woman, you need to get a white man. That's the message that's been sent. So I'm like, yeah, that is also it's very deliberate. It's not by accident that is done, but it is toxic representation. Not all representation is good, and if that's a representation that you have, then I'm like, yeah, that is more toxic than that it's actually healing, because that does not really teach us to like love our blackness. It's more like showing you like, okay, you need to do something else to still be close to whiteness, and that will then, yeah, give you a better position in society. So that is my feeling about that, basically. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Sydney, and then Elekwa. Elekwa, I'm sorry, I'm going to practice your name. So Sydney first. You had a comment or a question?
I think I'd like to hear Lekwa speak first. You got that?
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, I'm just going to try to comment on maybe on your question that you asked. Now, first I'm just going to talk about Nigeria, because I basically have been here, since I was born and adopted now. So now, first of all, here in Nigeria, like you asked about the media, I'm not only going to talk about the media. Mostly here in Nigeria, let's say, maybe like practically, maybe like a job, maybe you're looking for a job. I'm going to use like the banks, for example, here in Nigeria. Now, most of the times, the banks here in Nigeria, at least I know a particular bank here in Nigeria, if let's assume maybe you're going for a job interview, or maybe we are looking for a job, they mostly, there's 50 or 70% chances that they are going to accept, let's say, someone that is light skinned. One, because they always have this mindset that once you're light skinned, you're beautiful and you can actually represent the company. Maybe people coming to the bank to see you, they're going to be like, okay, this bank actually has more pretty people, And it's still the same way with the media. Like you see, most media has this here in Nigeria. They mostly employ, let's say, the light-skinned people. That's just the truth. Like it's always that way, I remember then there was a particular time that I'm going to use myself for example. There was a particular I went for a job interview. Then it was just they were like, okay, that the cashiers, that they need people that are going to be a cashier, people that are going to stay in the front seat. And now people that are going to stay in the front seat, that you must be handsome, you must be beautiful. And the definition of them, maybe you being beautiful, being handsome, now is you also have to be light skinned, because you're the face of the company, you're the face of the media, whatever. So they just believe that now you just have to be fair, or you just have to be at least light skinned to be able to represent the company well. And it's the same way with the media. You watch a channel like Al Jazeera. At least I believe Al Jazeera most times is practically, maybe they try to cover both Africans and maybe like news that has to do with mostly around Africans and the rest. But you still see people working in Al Jazeera that at least, let's say, 20% or 50% is still white people. I'm sorry, I don't want to use the word white. Let me just say light skin. Okay. And it's just that way. So most of the times it really affects a lot, especially here in Africa. Let me say Nigeria. I'm 100% sure of that. So that's all I have to say.
All right. Thank you, Sydney. And then we are going to have to start wrapping up. Sydney. Yes.
All right. I'll be very quick. With the 5 people that I've heard speak so far, I'll try and speak from my perspective. I'm 55 years old and I have lived quite a life that has taken me to different places, met different people, worked in different organizations. Alekwa talks about the bank, for example. I worked in the corporate world. I worked in the financial sector in bank for 25 years. I worked for EcoBank. So I have an experience of what you're talking about. Now, where my mind kind of shifts from what I've heard so far from people, when I separate racism to colorism, because in many instances, some things turned to have a racial comment, a racial connotation to it because of the things that we imbibe. because of the things that we've been told. I mean, like in Zambia, for example, in Africa, in most territory, for people to be considered which category they fell under, they had to use a paper bag. So when I look at where I've been since 1967 to where I am now, colorism in my country doesn't matter. People do it because that is the choice that they have made. There used to be a time when being light translated into money. Now it doesn't matter. Women now in my country are using bleaching creams, not because their partners want them to look light, it's because they think they look clean. Some bleached women last week insulted a woman who is very Black, highly educated, a commissioner of the Human Rights Commission, and they called her dirty because she's dark and she's got dreadlocks. Now, these are the women telling her that they've got black knuckles, very pale faces, they wear weaves on their head. And then you wonder, where does this color come from? So the colorism that I experienced in the 70s, the colorism I experienced in the 80s and the 90s is totally, totally different from what obtains now. I told you, Alekwa, I used to work for Ecobank. I was hiring cashiers, tellers to sit in the front row. I never looked at their color, I looked at their competence. And that is where we look to now. My managing director was as Black as 3 moonless nights put together. But she was the managing director and she did her job well. We look at TV right now, we talked about media. Some of the faces I see on TV now, 15 years ago, they wouldn't have been there. But there's something that has happened. The internet has broken those barriers. The people that we used to see on TV in the 80s and the 90s, who were privileged to be on TV, now anybody can be on TV. It doesn't matter. If a TV station can't put me on TV, I'll put myself on TV. I can have my own TV channel on my phone. And I'll have thousands of subscribers. So colorism doesn't matter here where I am. Even in the corporate world, where I existed for 25 years of my life, there was a time where being light meant something. Now it doesn't matter. Are you competent? That's all they ask now. Can you do your job? Do you have the education? Do you have the skill? Now, this is where we sell ourselves short as a people. We either get highly educated and get a very big attitude, or we become totally uneducated and blame the world. This is the paradox that we are grappling with now in majority of the African countries, Zambia included. So again, colorism is not so much of a factor here. What we see most is the racial issues. This is what's growing here. not really about the color of a person. Because when I look at colorism here, I'm looking at it as colorism within the Black context, not in relation to other races.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you, Faith.
that.
Sure.
What I like the point you made is in terms of media and those who have otherwise controlled the media and who's seen and who's not seen. It is true that now we do have more control over whether or not we choose to be seen, because we can put ourselves on there now. So that is a really good point. And we can continue to make a great difference by using this availability now, so that it is not necessarily staying in the background or allowing ourselves to be put in the background because we have certain features that are not considered mainstream worthy, but now we can become mainstream worthy. Ilekwa, you had something else to share? And we are actually coming up on our 1.5 hour limit. So let's hear from you if you had another comment or question.
I think he just didn't lower his hand.
Okay. What I wanted to ask, but we don't have enough time, I don't think, but I wanted to dig into family dynamics. So maybe we'll save that for the next conversation, because that might be a much longer, lengthier part of this issue, is how colorism is a part of our families. So generationally, where has it come from? What has been passed down to us? How has it affected us, and so forth? Let's see, Jacqueline, and then we're going to go ahead and close out with some positive comments.
Oh, okay. Well, you read my mind. I was just about to be just like, every one of us can be the solution to the things that we are talking about. As I look at these beautiful faces from all over the world, you all could be the individuals who perpetuate the dialogue that we want to have. You exist because you have the opportunity to create change. So when you hear or see or participate in some things that are happening in front of you, like and like I always say, well, that's just how it is. I understand that is how it is, but that doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You see these things in front of you, and we can empower, even if it's one person at a time. I don't have to go and announce it to the whole wide world. Everybody needs to change right now, even though, yes, that's true. Everybody does need to change right now. We can start with just the person right in front of you, or one friend, giving them some encouraging words about who they are and making them feel that they're beautiful exactly the way they are. The society and the system might not believe that, but we're here with purpose to do so. And I just wanted to thank everybody for their comments and the things that they have done, because we're here because we care, and we want our community to embrace the things that we're a part of, because even though the community, we might not agree with what they do, we're still a part of it. So we have the opportunity to make it better. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, definitely. Thank you to everyone. Latoya is commenting in here that we can be the change we want to see. Absolutely. We have to be the change that we want to see. We must inspire others, as Jacqueline is saying. It takes, just one person, started with that one person, and let's try to make it flow on through our communities, through our families, our households, just from one to another. So taking those negatives, that negative energy, turning it around. How do we do that? So as we close, share with me, if someone comes at you, or you're witnessing someone being mistreated or shunned because of their hue of brownness, how can we best respond to turn that negative into a positive?
Sorry, Faita, can I just say something quickly? There are two faces I'm seeing on this screen, and I just can't help but admire them. Um, I'm seeing a face of, is it Laurentia? And there's another one, I think her name is Julie
So
A.
Lorencia and Julia.
Yeah. They have such striking faces. They've got such striking features that are so African. And what when I look at faces like this, whatever you do, whatever anybody tells you, never change what you look like. You are so authentically Black. You are so authentically African. And celebrate that.
Agree.
Thank you.
Agree.
Thanks for that.
And you may have come in after we did the introductions. So just, you didn't hear any of the introductions, correct, Sydney?
No, I didn't.
And you all just run through again, your first name, where you are, what your ethnic background is, and share that with Sydney, please. So Julia, start with you.
Okay, I'm Julia. I'm from the Gambia, western part of Africa. And then my ethnic background is Aku. My dad is an Aku. Yes. It's an ethnic minority group.
Thank you. And Laurencia?
I'm Laurentia from Ghana, and my ethnic group is, I'm a Fanti from the central region of Ghana. Thank you.
Ajibole?
Okay, I'm from Nigeria and my ethnicity is Yoruba. I'm a Yoruba boy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Latoya?
I am Latoya Tisdale, and my background is the southern parts of the United States.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Angela?
My name is Angela Jackson. I'm from Paducah, Kentucky, here in the States.
Thank you.
And Michael?
Yes, I'm Michael from Amsterdam, in the Netherlands in Europe. My family's from Suriname, South America.
And Jacqueline?
I am from the Southern United States. I was born in Texas, and that's where my people are from. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all. And you know me, we've met. I thank you all so much for coming on this afternoon, this evening, over in Europe and Africa. We will continue this discussion. The next one will be January 28th, but it will be in the evening time, so we can welcome back our East Asian and Australian brothers and sisters. So we'll be shifting the times so we can accommodate the different time zones and open up this platform to as many as we can. You all shared some really, really great insight and experiences, and I really appreciate your time this evening. Again, we are the World Africultural Community Project, and we are happy to connect with each of you and get you connected to each other. It's good for us to share space together, to become acquainted, to learn about each other. We'll be doing some other activities too as we go along. We'll do some actual meet and greets virtually, as well as what we're doing in person now, where we have more of an opportunity to actually talk and just, share more about who we are and get to know, what do we have in common with each other. So not so much about, I guess, embracing the separatism that we have, but embracing what connects us, finding those commonalities, our patois-isms that we have. and really just trying to help to unite our communities as we all spread out around the world, but there's something that joins us together, and that is the continent of Africa. So thank you all. Everybody stay positive, stay creative, stay blessed, and we will see you
Thank you.
next time.
Thank you too.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.